So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how I meditate without having a formal sit-down practice. Now, I'm not saying I don't sit down and meditate here and there. I might do an hour in the weekend when I feel compelled to. I sit down in the mornings for 10 minutes here and there. But I would say a large amount of my practice and progress has been without a formal sort of practice. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how I do that, how I achieve that, and how you can as well. So we have to start off with talking about what meditation is. Meditation is you becoming present to reality and you noticing sort of what is, gaining insight into the nature of reality. So it's about gaining insight. Now, to know about insight, to gain insight, we have to know a little bit about the three characteristics of Buddhism. These are impermanence, well, let's start with the first one, suffering, impermanence, and no self. The suffering aspect is where you go through life and there's something that makes you suffer. It could be something small, like you're doing the dishes and you notice a small amount of agitation, a small amount of resistance to the experience that causes suffering. Impermanence, you notice the nature of the phenomenon, how it's impermanent, it comes and goes, you can't hold on to it, it's empty. And finally, no self. There's no you that is there that can cling on to that experience. There's nobody to take ownership of it. There's nobody to say, this is mine. So to gain more insight, we have to focus on these aspects. And I feel like the daily life gives us plenty of opportunities to focus on this, right? Because as I said, when you're doing the dishes, when you're walking, when you are out here at this beautiful location, but now the sun is beating down on me, it's hot. I can focus on the three characteristics. I can focus on the suffering aspect and just notice or introspect into any resistances that come up, which just means to be an observer, to notice, to examine, to become aware of those phenomenon as they arise. The second one is to notice that it comes and goes. You can't cling on to it. You can't keep it. It's like a cloud. It travels through your fingers. It's like a soap bubble. You know, a soap bubble, they look solid. But what happens when you poke a finger through a soap bubble? It pops, right? So that's the same thing here. We're noticing the impermanent nature of it. We're noticing that one moment in consciousness it's here, and another moment it dissolves. It goes from solid to liquid, and we're basically in this practice allowing the solidity to dissolve, into wisps of smoke. And finally, inquiring into the self that is, or that feels like is there in relation to these phenomenon. So you're walking, and a great thing I do is I walk and I notice my walking. I scan my body, and I also inquire into, well, who's doing the walking? And you might start to notice that it just happens. You might start to notice that your body is just moving on autopilot. You might start to notice that when you are talking, although there's this part of you that feels like you are the one talking, there's also an aspect where it's just happening, it's just arising in consciousness. And so that's what I'm doing here when I'm meditating without having a formal practice. I'm going through my life and noticing these 3 characteristics, which are so crucial to gaining insight. And through this insight, and through knowing the nature of reality at a deeper level, we can move towards liberation, as the Buddha taught. And so I'm out here at the Grand Palace right now in Thailand, as you can see. And I feel like these 3 characteristics are so key to what the Buddha taught. So if there's anything to get out of this video, you don't need a formal sit practice to gain a lot of insight. Yes, I'd recommend having a formal sit practice. Yes, you can get caught up in your life and you need different practices, different modalities. You might not have time, or you might forget to inquire into these characteristics when you are going through your life. So then it's good to start off with a formal practice where you focus on these things in a formal setting. But eventually, once you can do it on the cushion, start doing it off the cushion too. Start integrating it into your life and start to see how that changes your life, how you move into a greater state of acceptance, of flow, of equanimity, and not resisting life.